refuse to believe that fat phobia isn't a thing.
What would it be like for Alphabet to be fat or for Galinda to be fat?
No amount of what I educate you on will help. And then a thin white person says something and people are like, you know what? Yes. Did you hear the news? Thin people die too. And actually, there is not one health issue or problem that only fat people experience. You know?
Whew, sorry to start you all off so rough on a Monday morning. Morning for most of you. I know some of you worldwide are not first thing in the morning, but that's still a pretty rough start to a video. And I did that because I'm genuinely curious to know, is there someone out there for you that is the opposite of a comfort creator, right? They pop up on your feed and you're immediately like, nope, can't take this, I'm scrolling right past you. Or even worse, you cannot look away from the train wreck that is their content. For me, that creator has to be Fierce Fat Femme. And it's because she doesn't pop up on my feeds all the time, but when she does, it's because she has had a particularly interesting take that has made it to the For You page, right? And yeah, I just can't look away. I can't look away. It's always so bad, and I always have many thoughts and many feelings about it, which is why we're here today on the channel to talk about it, because this time she popped up on my feed and she had a lot to say about other plus-size creators who are choosing to lose weight, specifically those who are opting for medical intervention.
People would rather potentially die from getting weight loss surgery than remain fat and have the repercussions of fat phobia thrust upon them.
Yeah, that's the first sentence of her video. So we're gonna go ahead and get into all of that madness today because I can't with this rhetoric, so we're gonna talk about it. But before we do, before I get too far, let me stop because I want to say hello to everyone who's coming back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here with me again this week. And for anyone who's new here, if this is the first time you are seeing my face, welcome. My name is Sam and I make weekly videos dissecting internet nonsense. So if you're into that type of thing or you like today's video, I hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing because it really helps out the channel and it makes sure you never miss another upload from me. All right, now that we are all here together, cozied in, introduced, have our snacks, let's get into the madness, shall we?
People would rather potentially die from getting weight loss surgery than remain fat and have the repercussions of fat phobia thrust upon them. And a lot of people are talking about Remy right now because of the podcast episode with her and Chloe talking about her weight loss surgery. And I have something even more deep, I think, for us to discuss.
She says that this is going to be a deep conversation, and I'm not going to lie to you, I immediately have doubts because of that first sentence, right? People choose to get weight loss surgery and risk death doing so simply to avoid fat phobia. She has made it that simple. So if there's no nuance, if it's that simple, where's the depth coming from? I'm so curious to know, so I'm gonna stop talking so we can find out. Let's see how deep we're gonna get.
I don't think anyone is surprised by any like plus size influencer getting weight loss surgery or doing Ozempic, whatever it might be, because we are in the rebranding of heroin chic of the late 1990s and early 2000s. So it's not shocking. It still hurts a little bit, you know? And I think in the podcast, there was a lot of really intense discussions about like health as it ties to fatness. And I just want to be very clear that there are a lot of fat people who are perfectly healthy. And I want to be very clear again that health does not define your worth. There are people who are chronically ill who will never have a clean bill of health. And do they not deserve to live a life worth living without people shitting on them and without access to healthcare?
Okay, there is a lot to unpack here. First, I find it extremely interesting that she's saying nobody is surprised that plus size influencers are losing weight, are getting weight loss surgery, are taking GLP-1s. No one is shocked. But I want to ask you to just think back just a couple weeks ago, just about a year ago, just a year and a half ago. If this were true, why did people absolutely lose their minds when Remi Bader started to lose weight? Even before she announced that it was weight loss surgery, people were all over her case as she lost weight. Why did people attack Gabriella Lascano when she started to lose weight? What about Rosie Beamy? What about all of these celebrities like Adele and Rebel Wilson? Lizzo's getting it a little bit easier, but also people mostly unfollowed her because she's a terrible human being. People who were in this movement who lose weight always experience a period of shock and awe and pure hatred from the fat activist, body positive, plus size community. The minute they choose to lose weight, this community is absolutely shook. And not only are they shook, they viciously attack those people. So, are we not shocked? Or are we shocked? I feel like she's not off to a great start here. What I find even more interesting, though, in the meat of this section is her talking about the thin is in sort of rebranding of heroin chic coming back as she's talking about society putting pressure on these plus size influencers to lose weight. Okay, if you're chronically online, the way that most fat activists are, the way that I am as a human being, self-admittedly, yeah, that's somewhat true, right? You're seeing these things. Skinny talk exists. There are things that I've seen on Skinny Talk that I cannot unsee, okay? There are very unhealthy things that are taking place on the internet. That is absolutely true. But to tie that directly to plus size influencers who are losing weight is asinine, in my opinion. Because these plus size influencers, whether they're losing weight via GLP-1, whether they're losing weight via weight loss surgery, or even just diet and exercise, because all three exist, they are still plus size women. Almost every single one of them still plus size. And to be completely factual here, depending on the method of weight loss they've chosen and their path forward, they might still be plus size at the end of their entire journey, because it is completely dependent upon your starting excess weight and how much either a surgery or a medication is going to help you take off. Many of them might still be in plus size or high BMI categories, and that is just a factual truth. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that those tools are not good, that they're not useful, or that they're not life improving. Clearly they are. We have so much evidence of that. What I am saying is that fat activists, like Fierce Fat Femme, really enjoy hiding behind these internet binaries of fat and thin, because they never have to define those. And if you choose to do anything to alter your body in a way that is making it smaller, you are automatically deemed thin. You are automatically deemed an ex-fat fatphobe. That's who you are. The worst of the worst. You have turned your back on fat people. That's just how it works for them. There's no in between. There's no nuance to the conversation. Even when they are still plus size. Even when they know the struggles and they are being an ally to the cause. Because I'm seeing a lot more of that content now, where people on TikTok are losing weight and they are still very much promoting plus size clothing, the need for plus size workout gear, the need to just leave people alone and not comment on their bodies. They are doing the work even though they've lost weight. But to people like Fierce Fat Femme, that's not good enough because they've lost weight. And so that cycle continues, creator after creator after creator. And then there's this.
I just want to be very clear that there are a lot of fat people who are perfectly healthy. And I want to be very clear again that health does not define your worth. There are people who are chronically ill who will never have a clean bill of health. And do they not deserve to live a life worth living without people shitting on them and without access to healthcare?
Listen, I agree that your body size does not define your worth. And in fact, I would take that a step further and say that once you learn to uncouple those things, your body size and your worth, that is usually the tipping point where people figure out, oh, okay, I can see that those two things don't go together anymore. And that allows me a new space to accept myself and to love myself and to try to make myself the healthiest that I can. And that might be a learning curve. And sometimes I might like it. And sometimes I might still have days where I want to throw myself in the trash can. But it has nothing to do with my worth. And that sort of mindset and that sort of self-learning often leads people to becoming their version of healthy. And I think that that's the key component that most fat activists like Fierce Fat Femme are missing, because they're so individualized in their approach, right? And everything is about them and their body and just things like that. But what they don't understand when they do this is they're stripping everyone else of their ability to seek their own version of health. And that includes for people who live with disabilities, because the way that fat activists will just use that as a shield makes me absolutely insane. People who live with disabilities also strive to be their own version of healthy, whatever that means for them. And it is not fair for someone who is able-bodied, like Fierce Fat Femme, to use them as a shield for her argument. It is not fair, because no one is expecting someone who lives with a disability to be the same as someone who lives without. That's just not true anywhere. Everyone should be the healthiest they can be for themselves, in their body, with their circumstances, with their family history, with their DNA. Stop using people with disabilities as a shield, please. Fierce FM, I know you're not going to watch this, but please stop doing that.
Everyone is entitled to their privacy. Nobody owes anybody an explanation for anything. And when you have a large social media following and you are essentially showcasing your weight loss journey and showing people like how much weight you've lost, etc., maybe without saying it specifically, but still like you being there showing that, and like making people believe that like this just happened with like changing eating habits and like making better conscious decisions, makes people feel like they can do the same thing if they just do those choices. And it's important for us to disclose how and why you got here, right? Not that it was just like, I stopped drinking soda or I started eating more salads. Like, no, the truth is that like 80% of your stomach is gone.
So again, I don't entirely disagree with this point. I also think it's really grimy when people start to lose weight, specifically influencers, and then they start to get paid to promote weight loss programs and diet supplements and protein snacks and running programs and surgeries. Wait, what? Remy Bader hasn't done any of that? But that's who she was talking. Who has done that? Wait, can you repeat that? Who's done that? Oh, Anna over at Glitter and Lasers. You mean the plus size creator who's been in the body positive, fat liberation, and fat activist spaces for nearly a decade? Who just started losing weight like, I don't know, 2 years ago and has since taken a GLP-1 on the low without telling her audience, sold them diet and weight loss programs, been paid to promote Quest protein snacks, paid to promote running programs, is now potentially, allegedly, being paid to promote dangerous surgeries? Where is this energy for that? Here's my point, I guess. Why this energy? Why this hatred for a plus-size influencer who chose to lose weight without announcing it to the internet and without being grimy and doing these things that you're accusing her of doing, when it's been proven that she didn't do those things? She has an entire platform. You can scroll back through. It doesn't exist. But then when there is someone in the movement who is doing it, who's been attempting to lose weight now for 2+ years, shilling out these things to their audience, and now promoting potentially allegedly dangerous surgeries they're getting paid for. Where's that energy? Where is it? I think we're targeting the wrong people. I think we're proving that we're just so completely focused in on the plus size influencers who choose to lose weight for absolutely zero reason, when there are actual plus size influencers who are hurting their audiences and lying to them and deceiving them. But it's okay. It's okay. I mean, you told me without telling me.
Truth is that like 80% of your stomach is gone. And a high percentage of weight lost from people who do weight loss surgeries is because they can't keep their food down. They suffer from constant nausea or constant purging of food because they cannot keep their food down. Protein does not get absorbed the same way. Your body doesn't store muscle in the same way. It essentially eats it. I've done numerous research studies on weight loss surgery. My mom had weight loss surgery in the early 2000s, and there are lots of complications that nobody wants to talk about. But we are more willing to be thin with lots of complications than to be fat and deal with the repercussions of anti-fatness.
Okay, I've got to be honest with you all here. This part of the video left me absolutely floored. I mean, jaw on my living room floor, speechless, which never happens. I was floored. You guys, floored. And I knew we were going to get here based on the things she'd said pretty early in the video. And somehow, you guys, I was still unprepared for the amount of delusion and medical misinformation. Because this is it. This is the pinnacle. This is the meat of her argument, okay? And essentially, what it boils down to is her saying people who get weight loss surgery end up losing their weight because post-surgery, they just cannot eat. They cannot hold food down, and that's why they lose weight. She is implying that their quality of life is worse post-surgery, but they don't say that. And they just say, well, it's fine. That my quality of life is worse, I will accept that to not live with fat phobia in my life. Yeah, we're gonna get into it, I swear. But that is literally what she has just said to us. In her mind, there are no other benefits to weight loss surgery other than thinness, and that is just simply not the truth. For example, I found a study published in 2023 from Sweden that tracked more than 4,000 people who had undergone weight loss surgery. They found in their study that bariatric surgery increased their patients' life expectancies and reduced their overall mortality rates. Their conclusion found that the increase in life expectancy was 6.1 years, and that bariatric surgery reduced the risks of cardiovascular and cancer-related deaths in patients that have
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Ben. I'm a meditation and spiritual teacher, and in today's video I wanted to talk you through the 3 levels of the astral plane. So a lot of people will have heard the term the astral plane. I've spoken about it quite a lot on this channel through experiences that come about in meditation and things like that. It's kind of nice to have an understanding of the astral plane. Obviously at the moment we're all experiencing life on the physical plane. We're all spiritual beings who have come to the physical plane to have a human experience and learn and develop and then return to the spiritual realm that we've come from. Some would call that God or the divine. There are many levels that we can kind of pass through or experience on the way there. When we're here in a physical body, at some point the physical body will pass away and we will move to the astral plane. But the astral plane is actually divided into 3 sections. There's what's known as the lower, and I'll explain what all of these mean, the middle and the upper. And this is the astral plane. Now there might be some of you listening to this now and thinking, bloody hell, he's talking a load of nonsense. I personally have had many experiences of accessing higher planes through meditation, and it's coupled with the teachings that a very advanced teacher shared with me as well. I've been fortunate enough to meditate since I was around 6 years old. So I've had lots of different experiences. So the soul will, when it's passed away, when the physical body dies, it will move up to one of these 3 planes in the astral plane, or one of these 3 zones, you could say, in the astral plane. Now, what determines which one you go into and what is the difference? So on the lower plane, this is typically where negative entities reside. Now, what are negative entities? People who are like, let's say, murderers, rapists, those types of people. And those types of people, because of their actions and because of the karma that they've accrued, will, by the law of attraction, accrue more of that, and they will find themselves in the lower astral, which sadly is not a nice place to be. And I've touched upon the lower astral in meditation before, and as I say, it's really not a nice place to be. You don't want to be there. So I do genuinely feel for people like that, but I guess you do need to have the understanding that people or beings that are in the lower astral are there based upon their own actions. So I think it's good to send love and compassion to anyone that might be in the lower astral plane and hope that they change their ways and become nicer people. And when they come around the next time, when they have another human experience, hopefully they meet the right person, they have the right kind of circumstance that comes past them and enables them to change direction and improve themselves. But this is where people will typically experience, seeing demons or seeing, as I say, negative entities and things like that. The middle plane is for people who are not particularly spiritual, but equally not particularly bad people. They're just kind of what we would consider normal people. So you could say the masses. You could say like the general mass of people on the planet who aren't following any particular spiritual path. They're not really that way inclined at the moment, but equally don't do anything particularly bad, or they've not done anything that would bring them into the lower astral. That's where the kind of masses end up. This is the middle astral. And people who find themselves in the middle astral will also find lessons or be learning lessons on this plane, and they will also meet teachers who will assist them in their journey, even though they don't know they're on a spiritual journey. They obviously are, but they're not consciously on one yet. There will be teachers that will still be helping them to grow and develop on the astral plane and preparing them for their next incarnation, where they will hopefully expand a bit more and grow a bit more and maybe take to more of a spiritual path then. It just depends based on their free will and experience. So that's typically where I would say the masses end up. Now the upper is for advanced souls. Advanced souls, or developed souls, some people would say. Developed souls. people who have really committed to a spiritual path, who have not done things that are awful. This is typically where advanced beings will end up. And to supplement them, there will also be advanced teachers. There'll be advanced teachers, and they will also have lessons. They will learn more, continue their development, and they have, interestingly, the freedom to move, if they wanted to, between any of the three planes. Beings within the lower astral, they have no freedom, so they are constricted and refined just to, or confined should I say, just to that lower plane. So that's the key difference, is that this is not a nice place to be. It's a smaller range, whereas these other planes are much nicer. They're very vivid, very clear, and you have the potential to move wherever you want to. And there are teachers that are kind of on par with you, or that are going to assist you in the next part of your journey, until you eventually reincarnate into another human body to go through more lessons and progress in that manner. So anyway, I hope the video has been helpful for you. If you're interested in being part of an online school, learning more about meditation and spirituality, I've got an online school. I'll leave a link in the description to it. It's called the Inner Journey School. You'd be more than welcome to join us there. But failing that, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks a lot.
Astral beings and entities. The astral plane is a dimension or level of existence that is believed to coexist with, yet remain distinct from, the physical universe. It is part of a broader metaphysical framework that includes various planes of existence, each characterized by different vibrational frequencies and states of consciousness. In various mystical and esoteric teachings, the system of realms or planes of existence is very wide and diverse, and this topic requires a separate in-depth analysis. In these systems, the astral plane, sometimes called the vital plane, is most often located above the physical, but below the higher spiritual planes. Most often, the astral plane is considered as an intermediate plane on the path to spiritual realization. The astral plane is typically associated with human emotions, feelings, and desires. It is also believed that the astral plane is the realm through which the soul travels in its astral body both before birth and after death. Indian yogi Paramahansa Yogananda asserted that nearly all individuals after death find themselves on the astral planes. Here, they work through past karma via astral incarnations, or return to earthly incarnations for further refinement. Understanding the astral plane can be challenging because it defies the conventions of the physical world. The astral plane is often described as non-physical, composed of subtle energies or vibrations rather than tangible matter. Entities and phenomena on this plane are not bound by the laws of physics as we know them. The exploration of the astral plane is a central theme in various mystical and esoteric traditions. Practitioners engage in practices like astral projection, meditation, lucid dreaming, and ritual work to access and navigate this transcendental realm. These experiences are often seen as opportunities for spiritual growth, self-discovery, and the expansion of consciousness. The astral plane is considered to be inhabited by a diverse array of entities. Unlike the solid, tangible forms of the physical realm, astral entities do not possess physical bodies, but are composed of subtler, vibrational energies. They are often described as ethereal, energy-based, or having light, subtle bodies. Here, the etheric is used in the context of quality, but it should not be confused with the etheric body on the etheric plane. Theosophy, as developed by figures like Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, offers a unique perspective on the astral plane and its inhabitants. Blavatsky and other theosophists believed in the existence of various planes of existence, including the astral plane, which they considered to be one of the subtler dimensions of reality. Theosophists assert that the astral plane is not a mere product of the imagination, but a legitimate level of existence, existing in parallel with the physical plane. It is a realm of energies, forms, and entities beyond the physical senses. Astral plane is inhabited by a vast array of entities, ranging from lower elemental beings to higher spiritual entities. These inhabitants are seen as part of the broader scheme of evolution, each having its role and purpose. Theosophy introduces the concept of thought forms, or elementals. These entities are believed to be created by human thoughts, emotions, and intentions. They can have a temporary existence on the astral plane, influenced by the emotional charge and clarity of the thoughts that formed them. Theosophists believe that astral entities, including thought forms and elementals, can influence human thoughts, emotions, and actions. The clarity and purity of one's thoughts and emotions are seen as crucial in determining the type of entities one attracts or creates. Theosophical literature also speaks of elemental beings associated with the elements of earth, water, air, and fire. These elementals are considered to be conscious, albeit on a different level than humans, and play a role in the workings of nature. Theosophy acknowledges the existence of spirits of the deceased who continue their existence on the astral plane after physical death. These spirits may go through various stages of existence and eventually move on to higher planes. Theosophy holds that advanced spiritual beings, including ascended masters, can serve as guides and mentors, astral guides, to those seeking spiritual development. They may provide wisdom, insights, or guidance during astral travel or meditation. The idea of spirit guides or guardian spirits has ancient roots. In indigenous and shamanic traditions worldwide, practitioners have long believed in the presence of benevolent entities that assist in spiritual journeys and healing ceremonies. These entities serve as intermediaries between the physical and spiritual realms. The New Age movement of the 20th century popularized the idea of spirit guides and astral mentors. Many New Age practitioners believe in connecting with personal guides, angels, or higher self entities for guidance and support in various life situations, including astral exploration. While experiences on the astral plane can be transformative and enlightening, it is essential to acknowledge the existence of entities that, according to various spiritual traditions and anecdotal accounts, can be potentially dangerous. Negative thought forms, psychic vampires, deceptive entities, malevolent spirits, and predatory entities. Some accounts describe the existence of predatory entities on the astral plane. These entities are said to target individuals who are inexperienced or vulnerable during astral projection. Negative thought forms are energy constructs born from intense and harmful human emotions, such as fear, anger, and hatred. When these emotions are projected onto the astral plane, they can take on a life of their own, becoming entities that seek to perpetuate negativity. Encounters with such entities can lead to distressing or terrifying. Malevolent spirits, often associated with lower astral realms, are entities that are believed to have negative intentions toward living beings. They may be the spirits of individuals who in life were driven by harmful or destructive desires. These spirits can potentially harm or manipulate astral travelers, feeding off their fear or negative emotions. Psychic vampires are entities or thought forms that feed on the psychic energy or life force of other beings. They may drain the vitality and well-being of astral travelers, leaving them feeling depleted or weakened after an encounter. Deceptive entities are skilled in manipulation and illusion, often pretending to be benevolent or helpful beings. They may attempt to lead astral travelers astray, causing confusion or diverting them from their intended path. Interactions with astral entities can vary widely, from benevolent guidance to potentially challenging encounters. Seekers of the esoteric often engage with these entities through practices like astral projection, meditation, or ritual work. The nature of these interactions depends on the intentions, beliefs, and spiritual maturity of the individual involved. Paramahansa Yogananda, a renowned yogi and spiritual teacher, is well known for his profound experiences and encounters with ethereal beings. Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi is filled with remarkable stories of his spiritual journey, including interactions with these higher dimensional entities. Throughout his autobiography, Yogananda mentions his encounters with various ascended masters, highly evolved spiritual beings who exist in higher dimensions. These masters are believed to guide and uplift humanity. While not physical, in the traditional sense, they can manifest in human form when necessary to assist seekers on their spiritual journeys. Yogananda also described interactions with angels, through which God works to create, sustain, and guide this universe. But he also claimed that there was a dark part in the astral universe, full of fallen dark angels expelled from other worlds. While Paramahansa Yogananda's spiritual journey was predominantly filled with positive and enlightening encounters with spiritual beings, like many mystics, he also acknowledged the existence of malevolent and deceptive entities on the astral plane. Yogananda in his teachings warns of the existence of deceptive spirits and astral entities that may pose as enlightened beings to mislead seekers. These entities may use their knowledge of the astral realms to create illusions, divert spiritual aspirants from their true path, or induce fear and confusion. Yogananda emphasized the importance of discernment and staying true to one's inner spiritual guidance. In his writings, Yogananda cautioned that some malevolent entities might try to impersonate the souls of departed loved ones, or even enlightened gurus, to gain a seeker's trust. Yogananda advised maintaining a strong connection with the divine source and one's own higher self to discern authentic experiences from deceptive ones. Yogananda acknowledged the possibility of psychic attacks from negative astral entities. These attacks could manifest as intense emotional disturbances, nightmares, or feelings of dread. He recommended protective practices such as meditation, prayer, and invoking divine light to shield oneself from these influences. To minimize the risk of malevolent encounters on the astral plane, Yogananda stressed the significance of cultivating a strong moral character and purity of heart. By living a life of virtue, compassion, and selflessness, individuals can build a protective shield against negative astral forces. In the Indian philosophical tradition, the concept of the astral plane, as it is commonly referred to in Western esotericism, is not explicitly present with that exact terminology. Instead, Indian philosophy and spirituality often describe various planes or realms of existence, each with its own set of beings, deities, and energies. These realms may be roughly analogous to what is sometimes described as the astral plane. The concept of interacting with beings from different realms is present in various spiritual practices and texts within the Indian tradition. The encounters with beings dwelling in the astral plane are not viewed in a positive light in many yogic spiritual traditions. Astral beings often have motives that diverge from the true spiritual goals of the seeker. They may mislead the seeker by posing as divine or benevolent powers. Some of these entities may seek to distract seekers from their spiritual journey, leading them astray with enticing but illusory experiences. These beings may have their own purposes and agendas that are not aligned with the seeker's spiritual growth. Sometimes these forces help the seeker, but sometimes they frighten or manipulate, and sometimes they try to achieve their own goals by misleading or gaining control over the seeker. Traditional yoga teachings advise the seeker to develop basic skills of control and moral qualities to minimize the potential negative influence of these forces. In the spiritual traditions of India, the guidance of a guru or spiritual teacher is often emphasized. A guru can provide valuable insights and protection for the seeker, helping them avoid the snares of astral forces. While mystical experiences are an integral part of the spiritual path, it is essential to approach them with discernment and stay aligned with true spiritual purpose. While the realms inhabited by astral entities can be captivating and enchanting, it is of paramount importance to approach them with pure intentions and noble aspirations. A zealous pursuit of astral encounters and the practice of astral projection, divorced from introspection and genuine spiritual development, may lead us astray from the authentic path to enlightenment, steering us towards selfish objectives and negative intentions. It is essential to grasp that the astral world, to some extent, mirrors the inner attributes of an individual. The types of entities we may encounter in the astral realms, whether sublime or malevolent, are contingent upon these attributes. It is relatively easy to be entranced by the mystique of these entities, often losing sight of the fact that the most profound transformations transpire in our consciousness and the depths of our hearts. The true essence of this journey lies in the internal exploration of our consciousness, where authentic transformation and enlightenment take root.
Hello everyone. So in my last video where I talked about visiting a false school